up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Paul in Theology's Daily Devotional, and we're going to the book of Exodus. Today, we are in Exodus chapter 7, verse 27 through the end of the chapter, 27 through 29. If you haven't read it yet, stop the tape, see what it has to say, come back and answer. We will answer the 4 questions together. And if you have read it, then before we jump into it, I just want to talk about how Trust in Jesus Ministries is here to help you trust in Jesus. If you're looking to understand and know Yahweh in a better and a more impactful way, where it will do things in your life, this knowledge will do things in your life, you're in the right place. Because what it is that when we know God and when we understand his character and his nature, then trust comes more naturally. And when trust comes, we give our lives over to him, things get better. Now, I'm not saying things get easier, but understanding that we have a rock, a foundation of someone who loves us, who's committed to see us do well, and then following the one who has those agendas for us, that just settles the heart. It relieves anxiety. It strengthens the will and the fortitude. That's the purpose of trusting in Jesus. That's the purpose of understanding who he is. And that is why we are reading the scriptures. So I'm glad you're here with us. Happy Monday. Yes, it's another Monday, guys. We're here to get it, and we're here to start off on the right foot. So let's jump into it. What's going on in the scriptures? Well, we talked about God, Yahweh, telling Moses to go do something. He said, let my people go. That's what he's telling Pharaoh through the mouth of Moses or Aaron. He says, tell him, let my people go. And then he gives him a directive. Yahweh gives Pharaoh a directive. He says, if you don't let him go, then basically everything in the entire nation will be covered with frogs. Everything. The whole place will be filled with frogs. That's the consequence. You know, I don't know if it's true or not, but I remember when I was younger, they was like, if you touch a frog, then you'll get warts. So I don't know if that's the way it is back then, but I know they slimy, they nasty, they gross. You know what I'm saying? Frogs up everywhere. Man, imagine in your bed, and it's really like camping, because you're not in a bed that's up high. You're laying on the ground like in a little mat or a little sleeping bag, but there's stuff in your sleeping bag. Matter of fact, it says something like it was in their kneading pots, their bowls and stuff like that, their ovens. And these are places that normally frogs don't be. And so it's just going to be so pervasive, the amount of frogs that is going to appear if he don't let his people go. And we know that he don't. And so the frogs are going to happen, man. And so what can we find out about God's nature through this? What do we know about who God is? Is God gives man a choice, right? He's not a overbearing God in such a way that he would command or demand something to happen. He gives you a choice. Now, his choice is the correct answer, right? And that's why punishment happens, because if they don't do what he says, then it's going to be a judgment that comes upon them, because God's plans are greater and higher. But he wants you on his team, right? He wants you on his team. He wants to talk to you about it. And if you know his character, which is the point in which we're here doing, you'll see that you'll want to be on his team. You'll see that you want to be on his team. But he's also powerful, man. He is doing something that is not normal. He's doing something that will never really actually happen if not for his intervention or his power. You see, these frogs that are coming up from everywhere, from all places, are coming up in places where they would never be. This is the power of God. This is the power of Yahweh. He powerful, man. He powerful. What does this say about man is that we do have a directive. There are things that we have to do. I mean, God is commanding Pharaoh to do these things. He's saying you must do this. And it is up to Pharaoh to choose whether he will obey or disobey. But the prerogative is there. Like Joshua says, choose you this day who you will serve. And one thing I wanted to talk about, actually, before even jumping into this, I forgot to mention, is I think people sometimes talk about how each plague is representative of God being over another God that is representative of that plague. The first one we talked about, the God of the Nile, that this could be a sense in which God is saying, I am over or better or greater than the God of the Nile. But this here is not directly linked, from what I've read and studied, to any particular deity in Egyptian mythology. But what it is saying is the control that God has, the power that God has, and the chaos and the impotentness that Pharaoh has. Because remember, in the end, even if these are not directly lined up to any particular gods of Egypt, but I think they are in a way. But even if they weren't, the idea is that Pharaoh is the dominant and the overall deity of the entire country that everyone should worship. And we talked a little bit about that a couple of chapters ago, where people literally are worshiping. We even talked about that maybe a couple of episodes ago, when it says that this verse of service could even be, or this word service can even be understood as worship. And so it's like the worship of Pharaoh is no longer the Israelites giving. It is to Yahweh that the worship will come from the Israelites. And so from the Hebrew people. And so this is just an attack that God is putting upon Pharaoh, because what do gods do? Gods make, what do gods do? Gods create order from chaos. That's the purpose of gods, is to create order. And so Yahweh is creating disorder. He's creating chaos. Some would say this is a decreation, in a sense, because when we look back, we'll see it says that all of the frogs will go to the Nile and remain there, because that's where they're supposed to be. That's the order of things. That's the life structure. But when God does this strike or this plague or this sign upon the people of Egypt, he flips that. Where the frogs are supposed to be, they ain't. Where they are in the proper place, they will be causing chaos all over. And Pharaoh can't stop the chaos. And we'll read that here in a little bit. And so I think that's important for us to realize, is that this battle is between gods again. And Yahweh is demonstrating his power through creating decreation, or making chaos from order. And so that's also what it says about God. And it's also what it says about Pharaoh, is that we are not gods. We are not beings of supremacy. We are not deities. There is only one Yahweh. So how do we apply these truths to our lives? Man, it is incumbent upon us to place our lives in the correct order, place our prerogatives and priorities in the right order. That Yahweh would be one. That Yahweh would be above all else, because he is the power. He is the glory forever, forever. So what in your life today do you need to turn over to him? How do you need to rearrange the priorities to have Yahweh in your life? I appreciate you guys for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.